everyone. Thank you so much for taking some time to view this presentation. My name is Betty Sims, and I currently serve as a retention specialist and coordinator for academic programs at the AAC. I use she, her, hers pronouns. So today we're going to be talking about taking a gap year. I'm really excited to be talking about this. I personally took a gap year between graduating and attending graduate school, and that time really helped me a lot. So I'm really excited to dive into it. So before we dive into the content today, I want to make sure that everyone completed the pre-survey. So if you didn't, please take a few minutes to do so. The link to that survey is in the description box below. So today we'll be discussing a few different topics related to taking a gap year. First, we're going to define it, then explore some pros and cons associated with taking a gap year. We'll then discuss some motivation and goals for that time that you'll take. We'll then do an activity to help us visualize our gap year. For this closing activity, you will need a pen and paper. Ultimately, my hope is that you'll leave the session with a good idea of why you might want to take a gap year and what you might do during that time. Okay, so essentially, the definition of a gap year is a purposeful break with articulated goals and a predetermined beginning and end. So there's a lot of research out there around taking a gap year between graduating from high school and going to college. And I think this idea of a gap year between graduate school and high school is really a growing area of interest. So pause the presentation here and take some time to really brainstorm a couple of ideas for what you want this gap year to look like. What are some things you want to do? What are some things you would like to experience? Ultimately, the biggest takeaway for this time is that it's very intentional. We have to have clear goals, a clear time frame, and really a good idea of what we want to get out of this time that we're taking away in order for us to get the most out of it. So let's talk about some pros and cons associated with taking a gap year. The first thing that someone might gain from taking some time off is to gain some work experience. There are a lot of opportunities out there for recent grads to gain experience, especially through the use of internships. An internship can be an amazing source of knowledge in terms of, am I moving in the right direction in the field that I want to go in? The next thing to consider is to avoid academic burnout. By this point in your college career, it's possible that you've spent the majority of your life as a student. That is awesome, and it's also a lot of work. It's perfectly okay to do some reflection and to realize that you might need a little bit of a break in order to fully participate in the next stage of your academic career. The next is to be able to take some time to really reflect and ensure that graduate school is the right path. Right now, as a student, you might be considering jumping right into graduate school, and that's okay, that's great. And taking some time off can really give us some more time to really make sure that we're making the right decision. Graduate school is a big financial and time commitment. It's not one that we should be making lightly. By taking a gap year, we can also really strengthen our graduate school applications, especially if there's something in our application that might not be as strong. Say, for example, if your GPA isn't as competitive as you'd like, you can really strengthen your graduate school application by getting some actual applied experience in your field. Some cons that might be associated with taking a gap year might be the loss of motivation or momentum. In addition, another concern to be aware of when considering whether to take a gap year is the gaining of financial obligations. So this can look like a new rent payment or maybe a new car payment, but sometimes we can gain some financial obligations when we take time away from school, and that's something to think about. Lastly, planning a successful gap year really does require extensive planning and self-regulation. So this is not a exhaustive list of pros and cons. I think it's important for everyone to take some time to reflect for themselves which pieces of this are more salient than others. I also want to note that a lot of the cons can be addressed by having a rigorous plan in place and a community of support that can help you get to those next steps. In a survey administered by the American Gap Association, 92% of survey responses cited a desire to gain life experience and personal growth as a factor in deciding to take a gap year. So ultimately, this was the most common response. I also think this is reflected in what we talked about in a previous slide. Many of us have spent most of our lives as a student, and so this gives us an opportunity to really explore who we are outside of that setting. It also provides the opportunity for us to avoid academic burnout. Again, you all have most likely been students for the majority of your lives. The next major piece of taking a gap year is the opportunity to really explore your field of choice. The most popular way of engaging with this type of exploration is through internships. The CSU Career Center offers a wide range of support, both for folks who are currently in school and for recent graduates. So I highly encourage you to check out their website, linked in the description below. Lastly, a major aspect of personal exploration and growth is the opportunity to travel. I do think there is a bit of privilege associated with this option, but traveling both internationally and domestically is a great opportunity for folks and is a common benefit cited with a gap year. When you take your gap year, there are also a couple of very important service opportunities that you can take advantage of, especially if you're looking for a gap year that has a little bit more structure to it. The first service opportunity I'd like to talk about is the Peace Corps. So the Peace Corps is comprised of volunteers who are college graduates and who volunteer abroad for a period of 2 years. Ultimately, the Peace Corps has a mission to promote world peace and friendship by fulfilling three goals. The first is to help people of interested countries in meeting their need for trained men and women, to help promote a better understanding of Americans on the part of the people served, and lastly, to help promote a better understanding of other people on the part of Americans. So there is an emphasis on cultural exchange as well as service. The Peace Corps focuses on 6 main areas. That's agriculture, environment, community economic development, health, education, and youth and development. So this is an awesome opportunity for folks to travel abroad. It does require a time commitment of 2 years. If you're interested in more information, I've linked their website in the description below. Another opportunity to engage in service while you're taking a gap year is AmeriCorps. So AmeriCorps is composed of 3 separate agencies that all work together to provide service of some type. So the first group under AmeriCorps is AmeriCorps NCCC. And that's a full-time residential team-based program for folks to travel the country and complete hands-on projects. So think direct team-based service with the opportunity to travel around the country. This is a domestic program, so you're not traveling internationally, but you do have the option of visiting multiple places around the US. You might be building homes, clearing trails for national parks, or maybe even responding to an emergency. The next piece is AmeriCorps State and National. This is like the grant giving portion of the AmeriCorps program. It helps to provide funding to community-based programs. So really any organization that receives AmeriCorps State and National funding is part of the AmeriCorps. Lastly, we have AmeriCorps Vista. If you're part of this branch of the AmeriCorps, you will be serving in an area around the country focused on eradicating poverty. So all of these programs range in flexibility in time commitment as well as location and area of service. So there's, again, lots of opportunities. I also want to mention that the Peace Corps and the AmeriCorps are just 2 options. There's tons of other things that you can get involved in if you're interested in doing service while you take a gap year. The next thing I want to discuss related to taking a gap year is really giving yourself that time to engage in a very thorough exploration of graduate school. So, what programs might be a good fit for you? There are thousands of different grad school programs across the nation and internationally. So, giving yourself some time to really reflect on what you're looking for in a good program, is that opportunities to engage in research? Is it a good cohort experience? Maybe it's something that you're interested in staying close to home. Maybe you're looking at going into a different state. Really taking some time to reflect on these pieces can be really helpful to helping you be successful later on in grad school. The next piece is giving yourself some time to really dive into what school might be a good fit for me. It may be that you're going into a field that there are really only a few different programs across the country, but it's also possible that you're going into a field where there are many different schools that offer many different types of a similar program. By giving yourself time to, again, reflect and really investigate a lot of different schools, you're really helping yourself be successful later on by ensuring that you find a good fit. The last piece, and I know this is really important, is to really give yourself enough time to really prepare to do well on any entrance exams that are required. Perhaps it's studying for the GRE, perhaps it's studying for the MCAT. These exams are really important and do require a lot of time to prepare for. So, as a concluding activity, please pull out a pen and paper while we work through some of these pieces that I've discussed. So, first, please identify the potential dates you would like for your gap year to take place. So that might be, May of 2020 to August of 2021. If you're thinking, hey, I just want a classic 1 year gap experience, I want to start graduate school next year, that would be about the time frame that you're thinking. If you're thinking about the Peace Corps, again, that would be a 2 year commitment. Um, so to keep that in mind. Next, please identify 3 goals that you have for your gap year. Please try to be as specific as possible. So this would be, for example, my goal is to attend the Master of Social Work program at Colorado State University starting in August of 2021. Next, please write down 3 questions you still have related to taking a gap year, or to finding a particular graduate school program, or to finding a service opportunity that you would like to follow up on. Lastly, please identify 3 resources that can help you accomplish your goals. All right, folks, thanks so much for taking some time to view this presentation. Please make sure to complete the post survey, also linked in the description box below. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.